Yep. Okay.
It's not tight, correct?
No. No, but your lip is good.
Oh. Yep, that looks straight. Yeah, lip is good, yep.
Right. Well, I'm here again with my little friend Anne, and we have a special visitor today, Ian. And Ian's got a story to tell.
Yeah, I'm a West Coaster, but I'm currently living in Wollongong. But I'm here today to go to the place where my great-great-grandfather died, under the railway bridge on the Wey River. He doesn't have anything of significance to mark where he was buried, so I thought I'd come down here and at least just visit the place where he passed away. He just followed the railway lines.
Oh, did he?
Yes, that's what he did.
Okay.
Yeah, he just walked. He had a daughter.
How are you going, folks? Coping okay?
Great.
Good.
Didn't know it was uphill.
It's
Warm.
weather's turned out all right.
Beautiful to be back in the Tassie bush. Once you're being idle.
Yeah. They'll be building up all sorts of infrastructure within Malta.
Righto, folks, we're on the Wey River Railway Bridge. What do you say?
We made it to the bridge.
Yep, yep.
We did.
Yeah.
And it's a long way down to the river.
Okay, Ian, got any emotional feelings coming up?
Yeah, exactly. We're in the place. This is it. This is where my great-great-grandfather died. This is where he took his last breath alone in the bush by himself.
Right, we're about to go down onto the riverbank, and that's unfortunately that's where they found him.
It is, yeah.
So here we are at the Wey River underneath the railway bridge. Ian, what are you going to tell us?
This is the place where my great-great-grandfather died. Very significant for me because there are very few people in my family I can actually go where they passed away, but I know that John died here. John's story is very sad. He was a young lad from Liverpool in England, and he was transported out here for larceny. He married a convict from Ireland. They lived at Forth for a while, and then they went up to Bishoff, following in the steps of James Smith, who lived not far from them at Forth. And somewhere along the line, John Duncan, or that was an alias, his real name was Peter Crilly, John has gone off the rails. He's been estranged from his family, and after his wife died in 1888, he has roamed around Tasmania, stealing. He's been idle. He tried to commit suicide in the Latrobe by drinking poison. He's been in and out of benevolent asylums, but he had a daughter in Zeehan, and he had a daughter in Launceston. John roamed, he walked the railway lines between Zeehan, Waratah and Launceston to visit his daughters. Along the way he stole things and got into trouble, but in 1906 he was found by some people walking the railway line, laying here, not far from where we are, under the railway bridge at the Wey River. An autopsy was done on John's body, and it was determined that he died of exposure. John didn't have any comforts. He didn't have a coat. He didn't have a tent. John just walked, and he slept where he could. So sadly, John passed away in 1906 in this place.
How's your day going, Anne? You going okay?
Yes, thank you. Day is really good. It's a really interesting spot. Looking at the bridge coming down underneath this Wey River, there's so much evidence of old railway things, the old sleepers, things that we just don't know that has something to do with an old bridge. And you were saying perhaps there could have been 3 bridges here.
Maybe.
Maybe, but there's definitely, you see the new stuff, and we're looking at the plywood that they'd used to construct the newer sections, and there's old concrete, old rocks, and there's an area over there a little bit further on the other side of the bridge. Looks like a camping ground, may have been the hut ground or something like that. There's just rocks built up, and there's a beautiful sheer wall. You'll have to have a look. It's lovely. Yeah, really interesting place.
And another reason for coming here today was just to actually leave something here that is a memory of John, because John was buried in the Wivenhoe Cemetery at Burnie, and the area that he was buried in has since been resumed and is now a car park. So John doesn't have anything at all as a memory of his life. So I wanted to come here today to be in this place, to remember John, the sad life that he had, and just to leave something here in his memory. Yeah, no thanks, okay. But yeah, I'll have a sweetened condensed milk. Pretty good. That was my hand, Winston, and I got little nails on it. I can guarantee it wouldn't come off. Well, I've got a couple of little marks on it. 4 daughters, you know, so, and he married a girl he wanted to marry. They asked for permission to marry.
Yep.
And they were given permission to marry. They married in Hobart in 1852.
Yep.
And they were in Forth by about 1856. In Mount Bischoff, early 70s. And it all went downhill from about 1877, 1878.
Okay, well, our final comments from the Wey River Railway Bridge. How was your day?
Fantastic. I've been waiting to come here for 2 or 3 years, and I'm glad that I'm here.
Right.
And I'm glad we've left a memory here for John. He now has a notation of his final place.
Good. Coping okay, Ian?
Oh, very good, thank you. So when you look over there, I know
Yeah.
it's just quite a magic place, and you see
Yeah.
these possibilities everywhere, don't you?
So there's a possibility of he's come down from further back. He may have known this area.
I'd say you're
And that
right.
trestle bridge wouldn't have been steeped in concrete. That trestle bridge would have gone back a long way. He has probably just found a side to come down. Maybe because, you know, like I was saying to you, with the way the water flows around here, it scallops out that side and makes it steeper.
Yep.
But on the inside, it's always a bit flatter. So
Yeah.
he may have known that.
Yes.
And he may have come down that side. And he may have been down under the foot of the bridge here, and people walking along have seen the body.
That's exactly right. I've got a really strong feeling for that.
So have I, this side,
Yeah, just there. Yeah.
And you know, you read from the inquest, they assumed straight away that John had jumped. If he had wanted to commit suicide, he would have jumped into the river.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
But he
and it's
didn't.
not that high.
And then they found he only had a bruise on his wrist,
Okay.
and when they did the autopsy, he had inflammation in his lungs, and the finding was that he died of exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sort of looked sad over there. It was comfortable.
Yeah.
But he was near where it sounds.
Yeah.
The sound, hear the sound.
Yeah.
I mean, the
think-
whole place is that special place over there. Yeah.
I think what's also special is that the people on the railway knew him, and they said, "Oh yes, that's old John Duncan." And the policemen in Burnie knew him.
Yep.
The people at the different fettlers camps knew him because he'd walk back and forward.
Yes.
So he wasn't a stranger to them.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's really interesting, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really is interesting because he could still be here, you know, in spirit.
Yeah, it's so flat down there, and these guys have been walking along and look down, and there's a body laying down there.
And it's easier to see here. I mean, it would have been no scrub at all here, but that's still very, you know, grassy scrub.
Yep. And he's probably been just down there under the bushes, sheltering.
Shielding.
Yep. And it's got cold in the night. He didn't have anything. He had no coat, just the clothes. But the autopsy said he appeared well nourished. So he had had food.
He had to.
But he was last seen by the constable in Burnie 4 days before. And this was in the Northwestern Advocate and Emu Bay Times on the 18th of October 1906. The body of the man found dead near the Burnie-Waratah railway line at the Wey River on Tuesday was conveyed to Burnie yesterday by Constable English on the midday train, and during the afternoon an inquest was held. The deceased was identified as John Duncan, a labourer, aged about 76 and a native of England. John was seen alive 4 or 5 days before at Burnie. The deceased had stated that he'd come from Launceston and it was his intention to go to the west coast. He had no swag with him, and a fettler at Emu Bay Railway stated evidence that he saw John at the 14-mile peg last Sunday morning about 10. He was walking toward Waratah. He'd known the deceased for a number of years and he had no swag or provisions with him. A ganger on the Emu Railway living at Guildford Junction said that he saw the body of John Duncan lying near the Wey Bridge at the 33-mile peg on the Burnie-Waratah line on Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. 2 strangers walking along the line had told him that the body was there. There were no handrails on the bridge, and anyone passing might easily fall over. The fall would be from 25 to 30 feet. The jury didn't notice any injuries on the head of the deceased, but it was clear that he was dead. they thought the deceased may have fallen over the bridge. But had he been going to commit suicide, he would most likely have jumped into the river. Constable Michael English stated that he saw the deceased alive at Burnie on the previous Friday when he stated he intended to go to Zion to his daughter. On proceeding to the Wey Bridge that morning, he found the body of the deceased lying at the foot of the bridge. It was possible for him to be fallen off the bridge, but he had no reason to believe that the deceased had fallen. There was no external marks of violence to the body except for a bruise on the right wrist. The body had the appearance of having been fairly well nourished. The right lung was highly inflamed, and the witness thought death was due to inflammation of the lungs accelerated by exposure. The evidence showed that he had no bedding with him with which to protect himself from the cold. After a short retirement, the jury returned the following verdict: that the deceased, John Duncan, died from inflammation of the lungs accelerated by exposure.